Hello, it's Larissa Coe. Today you are going to learn or review how to write an essay. So step 1 is to research and brainstorm the topic and the prompt. Step 2 is to outline. Step 3 is to draft your essay. And step 4 is to revise. First, research and brainstorming. So you're going to study and think about the prompt or research question before you start writing or outlining the essay. You want to research and review your topic and jot down answers in an informal way. Sometimes writing things down informally is a good way to start thinking about it without worrying about all of the formatting stuff from the very beginning. And you really need to break down your prompt. So here's an example prompt. What is a theme of your novel? How do conflict, plot, and characters help to convey the theme? First, you have to answer what the theme is that you want to write about. After that, you can look at the conflict, the plot, and characters and how they help to convey the theme. You never want to get lost and get so far off of your prompt or your research question that you're no longer answering them. So before you even begin, you really want to study what you're going to write about. Now, you also really need to gather evidence. You need to study, learn, and think before you write. Conduct research or scour the article or book that you're writing about to find evidence that will support your answer to the prompt or the research question. If you're going through this process and you find out that your thesis isn't really supported by what you're finding in the evidence, then that's excellent. Change your thesis, change your answer to the prompt based on what you're reading. That way you can make an informed argument and have evidence to back it up. After you've really studied the topic and you know kind of how you're going to answer it, you can begin outlining. And outlining is just organizing your essay. To know how to organize an essay, first you have to know what an essay is made of. So we have the introduction with the hook, topic, introduction, or bridge, and thesis statement. Then we have body paragraphs, or the body of the essay. That includes multiple paragraphs, each of which works to support the thesis statement. Your research question or prompt asks a question, and your thesis statement is what answers the question. So the entire essay, you should be focusing on supporting your answer or your thesis statement. In your body paragraphs, you have a topic sentence, an introduction and explanation of evidence and or your own explanations of the topic, and a concluding sentence. You often have a counterclaim and rebuttal in the body of your essay as well. And to wrap it up, you have a conclusion, which includes the summary of the main points of the essay and a concluding thought. So let's break this down a little bit more. So in your introduction paragraph, you have a hook. Now, when you think of something like a fly fishing hook, it's meant to be bright and flashy and attract fish so that they can then try to partake of this lovely morsel of bug and instead get caught on the hook. Well, same kind of thing. Do we really want to read essays? Probably not many people do. But if it starts off with something really interesting to draw us in, then we might get hooked and want to read on for the rest of your essay. So your hook should be an interesting quote, fact, or thought that draws the reader in. One thing to avoid in your hook is writing a question, especially if the question is your prompt question. You want to go into something a little more interesting and less cliche than writing a question for your hook. So your bridge is the part where you tie in the hook, but the main point is that you need to introduce the topic and background information. So if you're writing about a book, you're going to put the book's title. You'll include the author of the book and maybe a basic general summary of the book right there in your intro paragraph. If you're writing about a research topic, then you want to give some basic information about the topic so that as the reader I feel oriented enough to know what you're talking about before you go into your thesis statement, which is the answer to the prompt question. It should only be 1 to 2 sentences long and be very, very clear. This sentence you could write and rewrite 5 times. Just make sure you get it right so that it's definitely answering the prompt or research question. After your introduction come the body paragraphs. Now, a body paragraph always consists of 3 parts. You have your topic sentence, which concisely states the main point of the paragraph. And remember, your body paragraphs are all working to support your thesis statement. And then you have your evidence and explanations. So you'll have quotes, you'll explain your ideas, you'll persuade us that this topic sentence is accurate and true and relevant. And then you have your concluding sentence. This is where you wrap up your body paragraph by summarizing the main points of the paragraph. A lot of students forget this concluding sentence, so really make sure that you're not ending this body paragraph with a quote or with a piece of evidence. You want to wrap it up for each body paragraph. Now, there's no set number of body paragraphs that you need in an essay. A lot of people do 5-paragraph essays with 3 body paragraphs. That's a good starting point, but it really depends on what you need to persuade us that your thesis statement is accurate. If you're writing an argumentative essay, your body paragraphs will include your counterclaim, which is the opposite opinion that goes against your thesis, and a rebuttal, which is where you explain how, despite this other opinion or idea about the topic, your thesis statement or claim is still true. The counterclaim and rebuttal usually go toward the end of the body paragraphs. And the last section of your essay is the conclusion. So your conclusion should include a summary of the main points, and it should have a concluding thought. This is kind of like a hook in that it's more general and supposed to be interesting. You want to leave your reader kind of thinking about something interesting at the very end of reading your essay. Your concluding thought a lot of times can tie into your hook. That's a really interesting way to end it, and it feels satisfying as a reader to be reminded of what we read at the very beginning at the very end. In your conclusion, make sure you do not add evidence or quotes, because that goes in your body paragraphs. You don't want to introduce a new topic in your conclusion. So when you're writing an outline, it can look a million different ways, but the idea is to organize your essay before you begin it, so that you are making sure that all of your body paragraphs relate to your thesis statement, all of your evidence supports the topic sentence of whatever body paragraph you're in, and most of all, that you have a strong, concise, and clear thesis statement. Once you're done outlining, you can write your rough draft. This is going to be in paragraph form. So you write your hook, introduce your topic, add your thesis, and then you write the body paragraphs to provide explanations and evidence, and then conclude. Sounds simple. I know it's not easy, but your outline should really help. So here are some things to keep in mind when you're writing your essay. So first, you want to use your outline to write your essay. Okay, some other things, this is just frequent things that I see that students could really improve on. You need to write formally and confidently. So when I say formally, you don't want to write like you're texting. You want to use proper grammar and punctuation, capitalize all of the first letters of sentences, and write in a more dignified manner than you would probably speak. You want to avoid slang, which is words like lit or abbreviations for things or shortened words that you wouldn't normally read in a textbook. You want to avoid those types of things. When I say write confidently, I want you to write as if your opinion is fact. I know already that I'm reading your essay, so I know that it's your opinion. I know it's going along with your beliefs, but you don't need to say that in your essay. So, for example, if I were to say, I am a teacher, that sounds confident and sure and persuasive. If I say, I think I'm a teacher, that's a little less strong of a statement. Remember, you want to persuade in your essay, so take out all of the I think, in my opinion, and I believe statements. And the last point that I make in this section is don't write in this essay, I'm going to. You don't want to refer to the essay within the essay. Honestly, if I'm reading an essay, I don't want to be reminded it's an essay. I just want to be absorbed in what you're saying, and I want you to get to the point rather than talking about the essay that I'm reading. The next point is to remember transitions. So you want to connect ideas in your paper logically. It can be kind of a cop-out to just throw first, second, in conclusion. You can add those transition words, but that's not really connecting ideas. So the transitions aren't doing the job that they're intended to do. To write a good transition, you actually have to think about how what you just said relates to what you're saying now and make that connection for us. So I wrote a few examples. You could say, although blank, it is also true that blank. You see how that plays off of the previous idea and then also the new one. And it has the although in there to kind of orient us on how this new information relates to the last information. Kind of an opposite is blank, similarly blank. So you have your statement and then you're writing a statement that is similar, and so you put similarly in there to connect those two as two pieces of evidence that are similar. And the last one I have is, despite the common belief that blank, there is more evidence that blank. So these are really useful transitions, and they require a bit more thought on your part than just putting first, second, third. You don't just want to throw those words in. You really need to think about how to connect the ideas in your paper logically. Especially add these transitions to your body paragraphs in your topic sentence. That's the most useful place to put them because it's definitely going to be a transition from one idea in one body paragraph to a new idea in your next body paragraph. So there needs to be a bit of a reorienting on how the ideas from the last body paragraph connect to this one. And the last thing, cite your sources. It always makes my heart sink when I see a really good essay turned in with no works cited page. If you don't include a works cited page, then you are not citing your sources correctly. So even if you're just writing about a single book or article, you still need to cite that book or article and put a works cited page at the end with a citation for that. If you're writing a research paper, then hopefully you've been gathering your MLA citations as you go so that you can pretty quickly and easily put together the works cited page for your paper. And then in the actual essay, you want to use quotation marks around the things that you take from sources. Don't forget the quotation marks because that turns it into plagiarism. And then add an in-text citation afterward. So remember, you want to put the author's last name either at the beginning of the sentence, Mrs. Coe said, this is an important quote, or you want to put the author's last name in parentheses after the quote. So some think that this is an important quote with Coe in parentheses at the end. Please don't forget to cite your sources. Okay, let's talk now about revisions and editing. First of all, revising your essay is changing the content, maybe reorganizing paragraphs, adding more evidence, going back and rewriting your thesis statement if it's unclear. Those all fall under revisions, which in my opinion are a lot more important than editing, which is looking for where you need to add a comma or fixing run-on sentences or checking your spelling. But both are important, and you want to read your essay aloud to yourself. That's really important. Get others to read it and use the spell checker to fine-tune and polish your essay. Now, this is my advice to you. Please never make a teacher read an essay that you wrote but have never read. Other tools for revision are other people. When you're passing your essay on to get some advice, ask them to give you advice on the content and not just the spelling and grammar. Other people are great at helping you figure out areas of your essay that are confusing or that are not supported well or that sound awkward, and they can be a big help in the revision process. As for editing, you can also use a spell checker. Please use a spell checker. Google Docs has spell check built into it. So all you need to do is click on Tools, then Spelling, and Spell Check to use the tool. So once your paper is all revised and edited, you can submit it and then you get teacher feedback. That's an important thing to listen to as well. Once your teacher gives you feedback, grades your essay, fills out the rubric, there's another chance for you to revise and edit again. So let's just recap the ideas. The first step is to research and brainstorm. Remember that you need to become an expert on the topic before you write about it. You need to organize your essay in an outline, and then draft your paper. Remember to write formally, and don't forget to cite your sources. The last step is revision and editing. That's when you get feedback, improve, and polish off your essay for your final draft. That is the end. Remember, if you have questions, you can always ask your teacher. We are so willing to help.